Let's go to Japan, to Tokyo, actually, because James Sims has graciously stayed up late. And James, I don't even know what time it is for you, but I know it's late there in Tokyo. I appreciate your being with us.
Oh, wait, I got it. I can hear you.
Great. Let's talk about Japanese corporations. Let's talk about your story. 1 year after the earthquake, tsunami, nuclear crisis, a horrible situation, Japanese companies have regained their profitability.
Right. I mean, after the supply chain disruptions after the March quake, and then you had the other supply chain disruption after the flooding in Thailand, clearly production, especially like automobiles, nosedived until they rebounded in the summer. And
James?
yes.
Oh, there you are. Good. Sorry, we lost you for a second there. Keep going, please.
Yes, so the production, and especially in the automobile sector, rebounded along with exports basically in the summer. And then in the autumn, again, you had some smaller supply chain problems because of the flooding in Thailand. And one of the companies that was most heavily affected was
Oh, we're losing. Is he going to pick up the phone? You're on the phone?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I can. So let's talk about the auto companies, because obviously there's a big industry in Japan. What exactly did they do to compensate for all this, or did they actually do nothing and just sort of wait it out?
No, some companies, including Nissan, actually were the quickest to get their supply chains restarted, and that was partly helped by their alliance with Renault. And so basically they had a longer list of potential suppliers that had already been approved because of the Renault-Nissan alliance. And so they're able to go to other suppliers much more quickly than some of the other Japanese automakers. One of the largest problems in Japan was the microcontroller problem. These are the small sort of chips that are used to guide the functions of many parts of the automobile, things like air conditioners, like the cooling system or the engine control unit. And that was the largest company making that was a company called Renesas, and that was knocked out immediately after the quake. And as it turns out, for example, a company like Honda, one of their key parts makers basically only had one supplier for these microcontroller units. And so recently, at least by the end of this year, they say they're going to have dual sourcing for microcontrollers at this main supplier for Honda.
Yeah.
James, that's an interesting point, the one you just brought up. Did this tragedy in Japan and the disruptions that it caused lead to a rethink of how we rely on suppliers and the problems associated with just having a few suppliers supplying those few key components?
Right. I mean, I've spoken to several of the auto companies, in the last week or so, and basically they're making great efforts to try to get to their second, third, fourth, and fifth suppliers, through their primary suppliers to try to figure out, okay, what are the key components? What are the components which only have maybe one supplier, or is it, maybe multiple suppliers, but they're like in the same area that could be affected by an earthquake? And they're also doing things like drawing up hazard maps to look at, component makers. What are the risks should, X type of earthquake hit?
Yeah. James, I'm interested I'm interested in the employment question. Did the Japanese companies they had to have some kind of at least temporary layoffs? Did they bring everybody back?
For the most part, I think the people that would have been laid off were probably laid off after the financial crisis in 2008, triggered by the subprime crisis on Wall Street. And a lot of those contract laborers, were basically let go because they're not the full-time, lifetime employment workers. And so the companies have been adding, more contract labor, as the production is picked up. But I guess you're thinking about, the types of layoffs that you might see in the United States. That hasn't really happened as much. It was more the contract workers that were laid off, not the full-time employees that have basically lifetime employment.
All right, good stuff. We have to leave it there. James, again, I appreciate your staying up to be here with us.